The offseason is heating up as teams with new head coaches begin their offseason programs today. The Las Vegas Raiders kicking off the Pete Carroll era as we welcome you all into NFL Live. We have a great guest. Dan Orlovsky is here. Field Yates, RC looking fly. And then I don't know how you just make a hoodie look so cool.
Yeah, it looks great.
Oh, my God.
It looks great.
I know, it looks great. And Mel Kiper Jr., as always. Mel releasing his mock 4.0 today. The draft only 16 days away. So Vegas, they made some major moves this offseason, beginning in January when they reached an agreement with Pete Carroll to become their new head coach. Carroll won more playoff games from 2010 to 2019 than the Raiders franchise has won as a whole. Now, in early March, they signed Max Crosby to a 3-year extension, and at the time, he becomes the highest non-paid quarterback in the NFL. Since 2019, no one has more quarterback pressures. And then late in March, they acquired quarterback Geno Smith from the Seahawks. He signs a 2-year extension. This month, he went 18-18 with Carroll as his head coach in Seattle. Here's Geno on teaming up with Carroll once again.
There is unfinished business, and I think, you know, when people think about my story, you know, Coach Carroll was a big part of that. You know, he gave me an opportunity when not many people would have. And he saw, you know, the hard work that I was putting in. He saw the things behind the scenes that I do that allowed me to get this opportunity. To be able to play for him and, again, to be a part of this organization, it means everything to myself and my family. I was just telling him, man, I'll run through a wall for him. And he knows that. I'll do the same for my teammates and for this organization. And so I just want that to be, you know, kind of who I am. And I want that to be the statement of who I am as the quarterback of this team.
RC, very cool to see them back together. But the Raiders, they finished dead last in the AFC West, only 4 wins last season. So how much of a difference is this combo of Carroll and Smith going to make?
Well, I mean, first off, it looks like this team is actually trying to win football games this year by the decisions that they're making in the offseason. Last year, you go into the season with Aiden O'Connell and Gardner Minshew at the quarterback position. You allow Josh Jacobs to go to the Green Bay Packers, and we saw the impact that he had there. So this team is doing something that's essentially totally opposite from last year and saying we are trying to win right now. They know that Pete Carroll will instill a culture, but with that culture, you need good football players, and that starts with Geno Smith. That starts with the ascension that he has had over the last few years and becoming one of the better quarterbacks in the NFL, but also listening to him. He's a great leader. He's a man who has understood his adversity, learned from that adversity, and can now impart that on the younger people in that locker room. I believe this is a great start for this team as a leadership position goes from the head coach and the quarterback, but they have to add more players if they want to contend with the likes of the Los Angeles Chargers, the Kansas City Chiefs, and the Denver Broncos.
Love what he said about Geno and Pete Carroll, but this is not a quick fix contender in Las Vegas. This defense has been bad 3 out of the last 4 seasons. And really, if you look at the makeup of the football team, this is a defense that's bottom 5 or bottom 6 in 3 out of the last 4 seasons. That 2023 season where the end of the season so well made them top 10. There's only 2 real difference makers on this defense, Max Crosby being one and Christian Wilkins being the other. He obviously has to stay healthy. So Ashton Genty, a playmaker. This defense is so devoid of real talent. And RC mentions the division. You compare it to the Denver Broncos or the Kansas City Chiefs or the Chargers talent. They don't. Now, there's some decent, solid players, but difference makers, there's 2. So I look at this as we really have to philosophically try to change who our defense has been over the last 4 or 5 seasons.
You know, you kind of saw some good things from Palomar last year. Totally. If you really watch the film, and now you add Eric Stokes to the outside. What will Jeremy Chin give him? I felt like Washington played him in a way that sort of accentuated his positive and kept him away from his weaknesses. The one thing you know is every week that Max Crosby is going to be a war daddy, with Christian Wilkins, if healthy, being able to push him inside. What makes me think that this team can be better is if you can get Devin White to play at a level we saw him play in Tampa Bay. Landon Roberts, a great first and second down or very good first and second down linebacker. So they've tried to add some pieces, but I think it's all about what Pete Carroll can imprint on this defense. And if that culture can take over a little bit this year, I believe it can not only elevate this team, but elevate some of those players that have underperformed.
A huge part, too, RC. first-round pick 2 years ago, Tyree Wilson. Can he do something to get on the field and make an impact?
Yeah, it's a really good point. Second time in the last 3 drafts that they've had a top 10 pick, and they took Wilson back in 23. So far, it's really interesting. Nobody's actually moved from their draft position at this point. We have a fresh new mock draft to discuss, thanks to our friend Mel Kiper Jr. 4.0 released today. Mel, take us through the top 3, and let's start right there with Cam Ward.
And we've seen this before with Joe Burrow, 5th-round pick going into his final year, goes number 1, right? Baker Mayfield, 3rd-round pick, goes number 1. And Cam Ward, same type of thing. 3rd round, goes to Miami with talent around him. Think about Elijah Arroyo at tight end, Xavier Restrepo catching those passes. And Cam Ward benefiting from that talent from the standpoint, maintain your creativity, but don't be as reckless and as careless. Got more time to throw the football, and he took maximum advantage of that. Then you go to number 2, and this is the tricky one because it could be Abdul Carter, could be Travis Hunter. I'm going Hunter, the wow factor, particularly on offense. They need juice. They need explosiveness. They need a guy who can create touchdown opportunities, and Travis Hunter can do that and prevent touchdowns and drives to end quickly on the other end as a lockdown corner. So, hey, it's 2 for the price of 1 with Travis Hunter. That's why he goes 2nd overall ahead of Abdul Carter, who goes 3 to the Giants. They have Thibodeau. They have Burns. But remember, Abdul Carter played off ball first 2 years of Penn State. This year, unleashed off the edge, doubled his sack total, doubled his tackles for loss numbers. He can do anything you need to do. Inside, outside, he is a guy who is a fear factor player getting after the quarterback for the Giants. And then they can look to quarterback, as can Cleveland, maybe early in round 2.
Yeah, I mean, you have the Browns taking Hunter instead of a quarterback, so we'll see who will throw him the football. You have Shedeurs Sanders out of the top 3, as we saw. Giants taking Alabama quarterback Jalen Milroe early in round 2. Really interesting. What was your analysis of that?
Well, I think you look at Milroe and you say, okay, the talent. And Dano can speak to that, and Ryan and Fields. We talked about that on the First Draft podcast. Jalen Milroe is 6'2", 217 pounds, and he runs under 4.4, and he can throw the ball a mile. Okay, so he's got all the physical ability you want. The consistency. Great start, first 4 games. Phenomenal against Georgia. Then things started to unravel. Interceptions were rising. Touchdowns were coming back. Inconsistent, erratic, not accurate throwing the football at any level in some of those games. So he didn't finish strong, but the talent's there. And I thought for Brian Daboll, he fixed Josh Allen's situation. People were critical of Josh coming out of Wyoming, not accurate enough. Look what happened. Jalen Milroe needs to fix that as well. He wants to be good. He wants to put in the work, but he's a work in progress. He's a project. And for Brian Daboll, you get a mobile, tough, great dual threat quarterback. His passing skills, though, have to improve.
If I could handpick one team for Jalen Milroe, it would be the New York Giants in the 2nd round. This would be the ideal situation. Number 1, Brian Daboll's Alabama ties. I remember hearing Nick Saban talk about Jalen Milroe and said, this guy changes the game. I remember Brian Daboll talking about how Nick Saban told him the number 1 guy he could not stop in college over the past couple of years was Jayden Daniels. Number 2, and Mel hit it, the impact he'd had with Josh Allen, but mainly the quarterback run, and that gets me to point 3, which is desperation. They're desperate. And if it comes to a point this season where Brian Daboll and Joe Shane are like, hey, we need